All right, let's see. How am I hearing? You guys hear me? Hear me okay? Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of 3-Bit. Ask 3-Bit? I haven't figured out a name for this show yet. I did Ask 3-Bit. It was 3-Bit News. So you guys could let me know which one you do like. But I thought I would jump on just for a little bit, talk about some things that are happening in the gaming industry. Hello, Talos. Hello, Alvin. Hello, Tom. Appreciate you guys for dropping by. You guys are awesome. Yeah, I thought I would drop in and quickly talk about. I know I was trying to do this show every Wednesday, but maybe I'll just do surprise pop-ups here and there. But Wednesday is still the goal, doing a show every Wednesday for this show. So a big thing that's happening right now, I'm just going to jump right into it, is the Series S. It kind of holding back talk is coming back, right? And it's not completely misjustified, but I'm going to wait for some people to come in a little bit. Hey, Arrow. I recognize almost all you guys from other chats, so appreciate you guys dropping in. Yeah, this talk it keeps popping up, huh? Like Series S holding back gaming. It's one of those topics that that I feel like a lot of tech people be like, no, it's not holding back gaming, and people are like, yes, it is, and then it dies down. Like it pops up like every 3 months just because of developers. Developers kind of like not being able to optimize certain things or prioritizing one thing after another, and so we're gonna jump into all of that for sure. Just want to thank everybody for coming on by. I will be on FSP later tonight at 10 p.m. So you could hear like my full thoughts here, and then you could hear my thoughts again on the panel, whatever. I'm not sure what the topics are tonight, but you can hear my thoughts again later tonight. Hello, Timmy. Hello. Thanks for dropping by. But yeah, I'll be on FSP later tonight on the Fun Speculations channel, so you guys can see even more thoughts there. I'm sure we're gonna talk about Baldur's Gate and everything that's happening with that. So why not? Hello, lady. I agree. Chevy. I don't have a Chevy hat, unfortunately, but also I seen this movie with Ford, um, where they stole the windshield wiper, and it always made me hate Ford. But for some reason, I have this hat. I kind of like this hat. So it's like a, I don't know, conflicted for style, I guess. Hello, hello, hey, lady. Tom, Dead Planet. Bums Starfield wasn't announced today. I do need a Chevy hat. If you guys want to give me a Chevy hat, I am down. I will definitely wear a Chevy hat. But do I like their logo though? How cool is the Chevy logo? I feel like their logo isn't as cool. But Ford's kind of basic too. So, Bum Starfield wasn't announced today. Wednesday, yeah. I'm thinking Starfield will be announced pretty soon. I mean, I'm saying that as a Starfield marcher. Our army has been growing. I think Starfield's gonna come out late March, early April, but we'll see. We will see. I really hope it does come out that early. They're known for releasing or announcing something, then releasing it pretty early on. And it's my most anticipated game. My other most anticipated game already came out, Hogwarts, which is amazing. I did have like a glitch yesterday where I wasn't able. I had a mission. You guys are playing it. I had a mission with Sebastian, and it like forced me to like stay within this area, and it all my saves was also in that area, so I couldn't leave, and I eventually figured out how to get out of it, but it was really scary. Someone actually helped me on Twitter, which was really nice of them. So I'm back playing Hogwarts, and I'm obsessed with that game right now. It's super good. It's everything I wanted in a Harry Potter game plus more. The only thing I wish it had was the Quidditch Cup thing. That would have been really cool, but everything else I absolutely love in that game. Yeah. So one of the things I want to talk about was the Series S thing. It's been a big thing happening around the gaming cycle again. Is the Series S holding back gaming? I seen a couple streams on it earlier today. Of course, the Reforged dude is always talking about how bad Xbox is. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I think with the Series S, and Xbox, they have a lot of proving to do. Right? They constantly have games that are underperforming, and that's fair. So it's fair to bring up the question, but I just think it can be kind of disingenuous if you are a tech person. So, but I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle of it. Like I feel like they need to prove that all these features that are in the Xbox are worthy, but at the same time, it is in there, and a lot of devs are prioritizing one console over the other. So it's like I am in the middle where I can see where people's complaints are. But so that's where we're gonna jump in. So it's my suspicions that it is the dev kit that developers can be possibly struggling with, and not necessarily the device. If you have a game that is built for multiple specs, low to high, and I've said this on several shows, if you're building the game for multiple specs, which is if you're building the game for PC, you're naturally building the game to be scalable in its design. And in Baldur's Gates 3's case, the minimum specs are below what the Series S is. So it's not the Series S. The problem isn't the Series S specs, because if that was the case, Baldur's Gates 3 minimum spec would be higher, right? The Series S spec is actually higher than what Baldur's Gate 3 is asking. So where does it leave the problem to be? It's most likely the development kit. So you have developers who have a very easy transition from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5, as the architecture for the PlayStation is very similar. And then you have a Series X, which has a ton of new RDNA 2 features, whereas a lot of multi-platform developers are not really utilizing those features at all. Those features are the major differences in why they built the Series X the way they did. So if you can't utilize any of those features, it's kind of sucks. Yeah, lady, I want to I was kind of like, I don't know, I'm really interested in Baldur's Gate now. So Mav has been hyping it up. I haven't really played the past one, so I know you've played it. So would you recommend, knowing my my game type, would you recommend me trying it out? I've heard some good things about the franchise in general. People really liking it, so I do want to maybe check it out. And I haven't been PC gaming in a while. But I'm trying to get back into it. It's easier for me to stream PC gaming, which is why I was thinking about sort of jumping back into Baldur's Gate. So maybe I'll check it out. So I don't need to know. You said I've not played the past ones either, so I don't need to play Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 necessarily to know what's going on. That's pretty cool. Or maybe I do, and you don't know what's going on, and you're just like having a good time with it. that could happen too. But basically, my whole point is, like, with developers, they have a very easy transition from PlayStation 4 to 5 because it's essentially very similar. And you top that on that being the most popular platform that a lot of people are going to play on. Most PlayStation games have exclusive deals on it and things like that. So developers, knowing that they not only is that the most popular platform, it's super easy to develop for because its architecture is similar. You kind of go back to the whole situation. It reminds me of the PS3, where developers struggled for a long time developing on the PS3. And it was the more popular or more powerful platform at the time. You had that cell processor on the PS3 was abysmal to develop on. So even if it was the most popular platform, PlayStation 3, more powerful than the Xbox 360, that wasn't shown on many games. A lot of multi-platform games, this was way better on the Xbox 360. And that's where the developers went. So it's kind of a similar situation with some of these consoles. They are given a lot more power. So a lot of these games that you're starting to see performance disparity on is the result of just brute forcing a port from PC to just putting out a Series X and S. And that's where you're getting a lot of problems. Do you think Starfield will run better on PS5 than Xbox? At first I was like reading, I was like, wait a minute. Just kidding. Could you imagine if anyone still thought? People still think that. It's insane. I was in a chat, I was saying the other day, people were attacking me in a chat because I was like, Starfield's not coming to PlayStation. Like, I was thinking the guy was serious when he said that. He was like, yeah, it is. So people still think that, which is insane. Lady says this one is more or less a D&D storyline. Oh, okay. I like D&D. Maybe I'll say it, but explain what you mean. You said, oh, okay, you did. You said a Dragon Age feel, but tactical. Okay. Hey, Kate. Welcome, everybody. I see people jumping in. Appreciate you guys. Aaron says, good evening. Super late here in Sweden, but glad I learned that you have a channel. I've been following you on Twitter for a while. Dude, thank you. Yeah, I've been making videos. This is not even my only channel. I've been making videos since I was 11 years old. So I have so many channels. Started off making Halo videos. If you look up Grunt Wars, I was like 11 or 10 when I made that video. Made a bunch of dumb videos on that channel. Eventually created my company, Blackline where we do comic books and video games and stuff like that. And then I made this channel maybe 9 years ago. And yeah, so yeah, this channel's been around for a while, but I haven't been super consistent with it. I've made like reviews on this channel, and then I started being really active, and then when I started being really active, that's when I just started streaming. So I started going on Mav's channel, I went on Boom's channel, and then I was like, I felt comfortable just doing those, and I'm like, I don't need to do my own. But I like streaming too, so I just wanted to start it again. Hello. Yeah, it's crazy that I've been doing these videos since I was like 10 or 11. It's kind of cool though, because you can like track your videos over time, and like there's videos I'm super proud of that I made when I was like a kid, and then there's other videos where I'm like, ooh, I hope that never sees the light of day. Like I do have an interview out there where I'm like 12 and I'm on YouTube, and someone's like asking me questions about what I want to do, and it's so cringy that like it used to be on my family's channel, and I totally blocked it. I was like, I hope no one sees this video. So cringy. Yeah, it's insane. Hello. Thanks for dropping in, guys. I appreciate it. I expect like maybe one person to show up, so the fact that you guys are in the comments means a lot. Yeah, so the Series S is it's in a weird predicament right now. The Series X and the S are in a weird predicament. But if you see people say it's like holding back gaming, that's where I feel like they're wrong, especially when you see games being put on the PS4 or PS5 or just PC. If you put a game on the PC, it's made to be scalable. Where the devs are having these issues, like with Baldur's Gate 3, not having the co-op features, and they're struggling. It comes mostly with the dev kits, in my opinion. These devs are being offered all these different RDNA 2 features, but if you're prioritizing like PlayStation, for example, that doesn't have a lot of these features, or they have it in a software basis as opposed to a hardware basis, then it's completely different ways of doing these features in the game. So it's a lot easier for these devs to do, it's a couple problems, right? You have a problem that these games are harder to develop on for the Series X. You don't have the proper documentation or whatever the issue is. And then on top of that, like it's just like the PS3 era where these devs would rather just develop for the popular platform. So I don't know. It's a couple different issues, I think. Aaron says, I do believe it holds back games in one way, but not as I think most consumer think it does. Like, of course, more SKUs need more resources, and more resources take more time, less money than fewer. Yeah, I agree. Like people think, I think the problem is people think it holds back gaming in the technical sense, like because the Series S exists, it's holding back graphics and all that. That's not true. Until you raise the minimum spec of PCs, then that can never be true. What can be true is where you put your time and resources, because what's actually in the Series S and Series X, it's really impressive technology that we haven't seen in any game, even from Microsoft's thing. I think we'll start seeing it in Hellblade 2, future Forza title, like those first party games. But you're not. The problem is it's not going to be shown in third party because third party doesn't really care. They have to kind of be pushed to use those features. Be like, hey, this could actually be beneficial to your game. That's what Microsoft kind of has to do. Like, hey, these features, I know it's going to kind of ruin your pipeline. Like I know it might take some time. You might have to figure out a different pipeline for developing your game, but this is where it'll be beneficial. But it's hard because then on the PlayStation you don't have to do that. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's not necessarily holding back gaming. Like it's almost like the Series X and Series S is being punished for being next gen. If you really think about it. It's like they're being punished for having these features just because they're not the most popular platform, and most multi-platform developers are not going to use these features. So it kind of sucks. It does kind of suck because I'm a tech person, so I want to see games advance. I want to see them start using these features. But they're not really going to. I don't know. First party is where you guys are going to see these features being used. Like, wow. And I think once first party does it, and who knows, but once first party does it, I think is when you'll start seeing it for third party, because you're kind of proving what can be done. And in a way, that's been kind of the case with the PS3 as well. With that really crappy cell processor, was so hard for devs to work with, to work on. And because the PS3 had such like the cell processor was so bad, but it was such a powerful system at the time. Devs didn't know what to do with it. But then you had like the first party, like I think Shadow of the Colossus was like, was that around the PS3 time? There's a couple games that PlayStation made that showed like, hey, here's what you could do if you guys actually knew what the heck you were doing with our cell processor. And it's the same. It's like the same situation with the Series S and Series X. Hello, Fastback. What features are you specifically referring to? Sorry for coming in late for the discussion. I'm just talking about like if you really want to get down to it, like RDNA 2 features. What features are there? What features aren't? There's a couple. I'll pull up this article. There's a couple different features. Whoa, fancy transition. There's a couple different features that the PS5 doesn't have, like this article. Doesn't have full RDNA 2 integration, but Xbox Series does. So that means VRS, it just uses different ways of doing some RDNA 2 features. So where PlayStation would do it on a software basis via update, Series X has in the chip itself. So it's like what? It's like different ways of doing it. And some features it's just outright missing. So it's different implementations. But it kind of just sucks because a lot of the people are not going to use a lot of the features that are actually in the RDNA 2 kit until until Sony starts using it more in their first party and proving that it's even worth it, or makes it easier for the devs to do it and then have really good documentation. If you have really good documentation, making it easier for these developers to like they're working on the PlayStation version first, usually. And so when they jump over to the Series X, you have to kind of be like, make it as easy as possible. And right now that's not the case, as we've seen in a couple of things. Now what's crazy is the Series S in a lot of cases it's a powerful machine. It's only $250 having RDNA 2 things inside of it. Like some games on the Series S run at 120 frames per second. It's pretty insane, right? I know a lot of people who love the Series S, and they are, it's just a cheap machine. They don't really care about fidelity. They don't really care about like, oh, I have a 4K TV and stuff. Like Series S is perfect for that. I actually want the Series S in my upstairs TV. It would actually help a lot. In what way would you describe one or two benefits with developing RDNA 2 in mind, if explained to common folk like myself? All right, so gosh, I had a feeling you'd do it. All right, I'm gonna pull up some of the RDNA 2 features just so we can talk about what exactly is missing from the deck, because I had a feeling someone would ask me to go down the list. I should have had this already. Hello, Insane Cakes. Hey, Mav. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. All right. No, it's all good, Aaron. I actually wanted to pull it up but I wasn't sure if how techie people would want me to go. But I'm glad that you want me to go there. How many more times is the Series S more powerful than the Switch? A lot. Let's just say 8 times. The Switch is so weak at this point. I really want the Nintendo to kind of make a new console at this point. It's kind of frustrating, like, because I like a lot of Nintendo games. Like, I love Mario Golf. I love Mario Party. Just listed 2 Marios. Fire Emblem. Games like that. Legend of Zelda. These games would look so amazing on like having 4K and not relying on repeated textures or super small textures. Like, imagine how amazing Legend of Zelda would look if you can actually see into the distance without popping or relying on its style as a crutch to its graphics, you know? Hello. Mav wants the Switch to die so badly. Yeah. But I kind of want it to die too. But not in the way where I'm like, I hate that series. I want it to die so that it can become a phoenix and be reborn into an amazing system. I don't know. I want it to die and be reborn. Okay. So let's break it down. I'm pulling up a couple of things so I can have like my PowerPoint my PowerPoint of what is missing and what it has. Hello, hello. Okay. So, without me pulling this up. Like, I feel like our grandma trying to open this stuff up. Hey! Hello, everybody. So we're gonna talk about a few things today. I'm about to go full nerd in a second about RDNA 2. But we have a couple topics today. I really want to get through this one and go into the same, because we've been hearing a lot about why the Series S is holding back gaming. And my whole thing is it's not holding back gaming. What's holding back the Xbox necessarily is it's not completely its fault. It's the fact that it's the development kits in a way, because they added all these RDNA 2 features, because they added all this next gen tech in it, on top of DX12, and on top of it being also the development kits don't have the best documentation, and on top of that, Sony people develop for PlayStation first, and then kind of either use a port of the PC version to port to the Series X and S, which is sort of like hard porting it, or I mean, there's a ton of reasons why, but that's my while I understand that is the case, it kind of sucks. Like it kind of sucks that even if a system is more powerful, you still will see examples of the PS5 winning because of all that stuff in there. So it's almost like the Xbox is being punished for having those features, and also it being in third place in terms of the market doesn't help. So it's like a couple of things, but one thing it is not is the Series S, because the Series S is a lower spec. That's not holding back anything. That's my whole point. You have the Series S, and if you're building games for multiple platforms, then it comes down more so to resources. How much time are you building to optimize for the Series S? That's pretty much what it is. It has nothing to do with if it is it possible on the Series S. It's more so like how much time are you willing to optimize for the Series S? Because if you're developing a game for the PC, you're already having in mind one of the weakest cards on the market. The most popular card is the 1066, I think. And guess what? That is an extremely weak card, and it is the minimum spec for a lot of PC games. So I would like for the bar to be raised, the minimum spec to be raised. That's the only PC is kind of the one holding back gaming, to be honest. But if you raise that minimum spec, like over time, I've seen some people say it's raising. It's not really raising. It's almost exactly the same as. It's been almost exactly the same for like 10 plus years. If you start to raise up the minimum spec for PC games, like over time, then I could start seeing games really utilize these next gen features, and then you can say like, wow, we're actually headed in a direction where we are raising the minimum spec and really utilizing all the stuff that's in RDNA 2. Hello. Lore Master Jasper says, I don't think it's the RDNA 2 features holding back because the PC version has those in most games. I think it more so the parity between consoles can't use those features. See, I think what I'm saying is it is those features of RDNA 2. Is how you implement them to the console version, and also what I'm saying is the development kit as well. Like I feel like the development kits are in the documentation is not very good, and the fact that you develop the game for PlayStation first and you're not really going in and focusing on those other versions. I don't know. I would love for you to come on too, Jasper, if you want to jump into the tech talk. All right. So Aaron says, the question, can it be done? It's so weird. Like, of course, everything can be done. It has so much more to do with time and money as far as I understand it. It can be done. Again, I think it's going to come down to what I was saying before. I think when you start releasing these games, showing off some of these features and with first party, and then first party developers explain what the problems are, how easily you can develop something, how hard things are, because it's so different from the past dev kits, and that's the problem. It needs to be easier to develop for, but it's not necessarily the specs. It's more so the tech and figuring out how to use everything together coherently. Like the PS4 to PS5, it's so easy. It's like developing for the PS5 is almost exactly the same as developing for the PS4. And by them adding what I'm saying, Jasper, by adding all those features with RDNA 2, and then drastically changing the dev kits and how the development process is, like the whole pipeline is different. So that makes it a lot harder for devs. And it's not necessarily an excuse. Like, I wish it was a lot easier. And as a consumer, I shouldn't have to worry about all that stuff in the background. I should just be playing great performance games, which I am. Series X and Series S has games that perform very well. Some games even at 120 frames, and the Series S having 60 frame games, lower resolution, but still. But as a consumer, I shouldn't have to worry. But I'm a tech person, so I like kind of going into the reasons why. It's not because of the specs of the Series S. It's not, Series S isn't holding back gaming, just as the older cards isn't holding back gaming. In a way it is. PC is kind of holding back gaming until they raise that minimum spec, because that means they across everywhere they kind of have to have some parity there. But my point is, Series S isn't holding back gaming. It's a couple things. Fun speculation. Fidelity is good on most Series S games. It seems mostly resolution that is downgraded, which is the design of the Series S. The design of the Series S isn't the resolution, and you shouldn't really expect it to have crazy resolution. It's mostly the frame rate. It's mostly just the frame rate. Right? They were waiting for full RDNA 2. Yes. They were waiting for that kind of it was a weird thing, right? So Sony chose not to do full RDNA 2. They chose for a custom a custom architecture, which is kind of like some people call RDNA 1.5. But it's not full RDNA 2. Some of the RDNA 2 features is like ray tracing, it's variable rate shading, it's all the nerdy stuff. So ray tracing, mesh shaders, sampler feedback, I'm trying to remember all of them. Ray tracing, mesh shaders, variable rate shading. What am I missing? I guess the sampler feedback. I think that's all the RDNA 2 features. So yes, the way it does ray tracing. To answer Aaron's question a little bit, so ray tracing, the way that they both handle ray tracing, the Spider or PlayStation has been doing almost a better job of it because no one has. RDNA 2 features just came not even that long ago, and a lot of things within the RDNA 2 pipeline is being used by first party. So we'll start seeing ray tracing being used in first party. We'll start using it how it's supposed to actually be, not this sort of surface level, like, oh, that's shiny, you know. That's an RDNA 2 feature is ray tracing. Oh, thank you, Fuzzy. I was trying to remember the other one. Memory cache. You guys you're flying with questions. There you go. I got your chat. I kept looking down because I got the chat on my head down. This is a lot easier. Where am I? Question for 3-bit. Are the features that get implemented from RDNA 2 also dependent on the engine used and version of the engine, or is it only dependent on hardware priorities, or is only bottlenecking the hardware? So the features that get implemented from RDNA 2 dependent on the engine used. It's dependent on 2 things. Yes, the engine used does help with a lot of RDNA 2 features, which is like, I really wish that Epic really did the documentation for a lot of these devs for Unreal, but it's really dependent on the dev kits as well. Like a lot of these features, like ray tracing, for example, Unreal has different implementations. Like for their lighting, the way they handle lighting, for example, is Lumen this time around. So Unreal Engine 5 uses a completely different lighting technique, which is Lumen. Before they use path tracing and different like or baked in lighting or something. Like there's a couple different ways to do it. So it really depends. It depends. I think most of it is in the dev kit, so you can actually use a dev kit and have the engine and sort of code what you need to code, the shaders and everything within the engine, see how it corresponds to the actual dev kit. So it's kind of like almost intertwined in a way. But you have to make sure on the engine side that you can actually handle some of those features. And also when you have some because a lot of what's in RDNA 2 are optimization things. Like yes, like something like ray tracing is kind of like lighting based, where it just makes things look a little bit shinier, or it makes the lighting more coherent. You also have things in RDNA 2 that's more so optimization stuff, like the way they handle objects coming in, or the way they handle polygons on the screen. Like those are features within RDNA 2 that you can put inside of the engine itself. But it's something that Xbox handles on the chip. So it's kind of both. I don't know if I answered your question, but it's kind of a hard question to just be like, yeah, it's this or this. It's like a mixture of both, making sure that within your pipeline that you have things like the way you render light, the way you render your characters, making sure you have that in the actual pipeline. And that's why a lot of devs aren't using some of these features, because it can be kind of difficult if you already have built your game and you have a specific pipeline you want to use. Like, okay, this is how I want to display the characters on the screen. We've been doing something for years where forgot what's called, or is it raycast or what? Basically, whatever you're looking at is what's being rendered. Everything else off the screen is not being rendered. So that's how we've been optimizing games for years. And it's been working pretty well. And I mean, I don't see that necessarily going away. But when you have Unreal Engine 5, where everything on the screen, the way it handles polygons showing up is different. That's like next gen, where you don't necessarily have to render or think about optimizing in a way where let me take away this object, let me take away this object. Unreal Engine 5, you could show millions and millions of polygons on the screen without much of a performance hit. So these devs just really need to change their pipeline if they want to use these features, which a lot of devs are not going to do because it's not worth it. They're just like, why? That takes too much time. Sorry, Aaron, if I confused the heck out of you. Lore Master Jester said most Xbox exclusive games favor AMD features because they are built for AMD architecture, so they run better on AMD cards versus NVIDIA. Oh yeah, that's true. AMD and NVIDIA are constantly going to be in competition with each other. Where AMD is kind of in the lead for, I mean, is they're both being used on PlayStation 5. AMD is being used on PlayStation 5 and Series X. So devs are going to be really focused on those cards. So that gives me some hope for RDNA 2 features and stuff if they really want to push the envelope for graphics and optimization. But at the same time, PlayStation is the more popular platform, and it doesn't have some of these features that we're talking about. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. So Aaron, it's what RDNA 2 I don't know how to explain RDNA 2 simply. I think that's the issue. RDNA 2 has different features for game developers, like ray tracing, where you have fancy lighting, or mesh shaders, or infinite cache, or all these different features. What you basically need to know is it makes the game look really pretty, and it also makes the developers able to put more things on the screen without sacrificing a lot of performance if they use it correctly. I think that's the most simple I can explain RDNA 2 without going into why. Fun speculation says, like, if a game has been in development for 4 to 5 years, can they just say, oh yeah, awesome RDNA 2 features are here, let's use them? Or is it not as easy because their engine wasn't adapted for it yet? What's if it's already been in development for 4 or 5 years? That's a good question. Depends on the game. Like Halo was supposed to have all these different features, right? But because I bet you their dev kits and their pipeline is so early and not very good, most likely. It just made it harder. It could be the development. I also just think 343 was also a wreck of a team. So it's kind of hard to use 343 as an example. I would start using, seeing how these teams implement RDNA 2 going forward with Forza, with Hellblade, maybe even Starfield. So I would use that as a case in point and see how well they can implement it there. But if a game has been in development for 4 to 5 years, it's harder to just turn around and be like, let's use it now. But it's possible because a lot of optimization features They can happen towards the end of development, like the way, because I think a lot of devs, the way they work is put a lot of stuff in the game and then worry about how well it runs after. But some people, I bet you, like id Tech, optimization and developing the game is like hand in hand. So while they're developing the game, they're making sure it runs well. It depends on the developer, I would say. But yeah, that's kind of a hard question to answer. It really depends on the game. Like Gotham Knights, for example, that was touting how next gen it was. Um, we're next gen. Look, we're canceling all of our ports on other platforms, and it came out and barely runs at 30. Yeah, barely runs at 30 frames per second. Sometimes kind of drops to like 26 and stuff. It's up to these devs to use these features the right way. Forspoken, Callisto Protocol are the first game to use RDNA 3. Yeah, that is true, isn't it? I do know which game also used it. Deathloop used some RDNA 2 features on the Xbox side only, I think. I'm gonna have to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure Deathloop also used not 3, but they used AMD Fidelity FX. Am I right about that? People could put me on that. So yeah, Poison Maniac, yes, you will see all these amazing things that we're talking about on first party first. It is sad that for a while, I think you're going to constantly see this happen. You'll see Series X win some battles, and then you see PS5 win some battles. Is Series X the more powerful console? Yes, but that doesn't matter because developers are going to develop for PlayStation first. It's the more popular platform, and also it's a lot easier to develop for. And you have Series X, which has all these features, but it's similar to the PS3, where it was nightmare to develop for. It's kind of like almost a similar situation. What is Fable Tech? No comment. Fuzzy says Deathloop and Forspoken use FRS, I think. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember them touting like AMD Fidelity FX. I remember seeing like something about it. I didn't really dive into one of the first few games that started having RDNA 2 features. Or better. Oh man, Mav is grilling me on some Fable question. I need a lawyer on this podcast that could be like, you could answer this question, you can't answer this question. I need like some lawyer that come in and be like, he won't be answering any more questions today. I will say that they have their Fable engine. I can't even talk about this. Fable's gonna look good. No comment. Oh man, Fable's gonna look really good. It's gonna look the shiniest. It's gonna have the shiniest shine that you guys have ever seen. Only the shiniest. All right, so let's jump into our other topic. So facts are Series S is not holding back gaming, but maybe their development kits are. That's like the TLDR version. So Xbox, get to work on your documentation. Make it easier for these devs because they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They are going to work on the PlayStation version and then be like, all right, let's start working on. I guess let's work on the Xbox. Let's see what we got. Okay. All right. That's how I feel like a lot of devs are working on it. Even if that's not true, but it kind of feels like that sometimes. But hopefully Xbox makes it easier for these devs in the future, has better documentation, first party, hopefully they kill it with these features so that other people are inspired, other developers are inspired to use these features for their games. I'm hoping and I really want to talk to a super tech person about this. I'm hoping it's not, for example, you know how the PlayStation 5, when it first came out, is saying like, this game is only possible with the SSD. Because of the SSD, this game is only possible on the PlayStation 5. Actually, Forspoken, if you guys look at the first trailer for Forspoken, it was called, what was it called? Like Athia? Project something? I can't remember what it was called. But the first trailer for Forspoken, which I think was taken down, and then they re-uploaded it, because it used to say designed only for PlayStation 5. And then there was a bunch of articles on, it could have been Forspoken, where this game was only possible with the power of the SSD and all this different stuff, right? Which isn't true. SSD isn't anything graphical, right? That's false. And if you are using the full power of the PS5, let's say I'm using all of the things within the SSD to its actual potential, then that game couldn't leave the PS5. It couldn't. If you're designing a game just for that power of the SSD, then it'll only be on the PS5. It's not going to be on PC. It's never coming to Xbox. It's never going on anything else. So it's like, most developers are like, okay, well, I'm not gonna use SSD, which is why when you see Digital Foundry do comparisons of like loading times, so a lot of times PS5 loses in those comparisons, which is interesting, right? Because it's supposed to be, oh, the SSD, the speed. I mean, there's a couple of things, but it's like, it's like, what the heck? Alvin says Forspoken doesn't have an SSD requirement on PC. Yeah, does not. So that was the one thing I didn't really like about the whole PS5 SSD marketing thing, Jasper, was they were touting how much better the SSD is going to make gaming, and believe it or not, it does make things better. We are getting, compared to the last generation, games are way faster. But that's not the end all be all. That's not making your graphics better. It has nothing to do with graphics. It has nothing to do with like, oh, my lighting on his face is shinier. This puddle is shinier because of the SSD. Like that's not what an SSD does. It holds memory. It's about speed of loading things in, loading in textures, loading in models, levels. But anyways, I digress. All right, so my other topic I wanted to talk to you guys about, it's supposed to be a quick show, but I might rant here and there. The other thing I did want to talk about is the Call of Duty thing. So, a couple things happened. This happened. But this also happened. So, Sony was saying that they basically need Call of Duty to survive. So let me blow this up. Let me get rid of that other article. Boop. There you go. So in a filing, they're basically saying that basically that they need Call of Duty because it invests their first party game. So the third party game invests in their first party. I'm curious what you guys think about that, because to me, it's weird that your business model relies so much on a third party game, and maybe that's the point of why Xbox wants to keep acquiring major publishers, is everything is in-house, right? So you have Bethesda, right? You don't really have to worry about Is Bethesda leaving? Are they going to be bought by PlayStation? You don't really have to worry about that because everything is in house. I own Bethesda. I own Activision. They do what I kind of want them to do. You're going in Game Pass. You're going on sale. Um, you're not going on sale. You can kind of control a lot of that stuff. But when I saw this article and I saw that Sony was basically saying that their first party, it says this would in turn also reduce the potential return on producing innovative first party games, thereby diminishing Sony Interactive Entertainment's ability and incentive to divest in new games, aka first party games. So that's what they said in a confidential business secret document. I'm really curious what you guys think about it. Now, I think, like I said, it's weird that their business strategy was a third party game. Like it feels like that with the way they're attacking Microsoft. Like it feels like they really don't want this deal to go through. Doesn't matter what relationships we sever, this deal cannot go through. If it's like, I don't know, isn't that weird to you guys? Like when you have a business, and maybe this is not true, maybe this is one of their points that they want to bring up to the CMA so that they cancel the deal. That's possible. But would they lie about this? I don't know. I don't think they would, considering how hard they're fighting this deal and also how much money they make from the Call of Duty franchise, giving Activision a deal off of it, essentially. Yeah, what do you guys think about this? I I kind of think it's crazy. That's like Nintendo releasing games, right? You have they release Mario and Metroid and all this, and they're like, yes, we have those. Those are our games. But we have most of our business strategy is dependent on Halo, or not like that. That's not a third party, but like Madden. Let's just say Madden, for some reason. Like, yeah, we have Mario and all that, but most of our money does come from Madden, and that's like our whole business strategy is dependent on that. Like, I feel like it's better to have your own IPs, like your business plan about around your own IPs, because you control it. But other things, like, yes, it's nice. It brings the money in. Maybe brings a lot of money in. Maybe I'm just seeing this from a different perspective. I do know Call of Duty makes a lot of money, but the fact that it makes a lot of money and you don't own it, it's like, I don't know. It's weird for my brain to even wrap my head around this statement. Like, why should Microsoft or anyone, the CMA, why should they care? Like, I'm Microsoft, I'm buying Activision for $70 billion. You're not investing $70 billion. So why should I care that your business is hinged on an IP you don't even own? I mean, I don't know. That's why it's so weird to me. Like, you would think with all their, I don't know. It's just weird that their business hinges on something they don't own in the first place. And if I mean, again, it feels like that with how they're not taking the 10-year deal, even though it would benefit them. But what they really want is marketing rights. They want the appearance that these games you get a benefit from owning on the PlayStation, even if it is on other platforms. I knew so many people with Hogwarts that only thought Hogwarts was on PlayStation. Like, so many people was like, oh, that's only on PlayStation. It's not. There's a lot of power in their marketing that way, and the fact that they're about to lose that is what they're scared of. They're not going to have any more exclusive maps that's exclusive for the first year on PlayStation. They're not going to have like Call of Duty and then like that PlayStation logo in like the official Call of Duty pages. Like, you lose all that when Xbox owns them. You could still put it on your channel and everything, but after that, you're kind of helping Microsoft. So I get that, but I don't feel bad for them. I mean, it's weird that you would put so much of your time. I'm trying, honestly, I am trying to see it from another perspective. Like, they are a smaller company to Microsoft. Sony is like their bread and butter. Like, Sony's PlayStation is their bread and butter, right? Their other divisions, their TVs, they sell okay. Their TV division, they're doing better. They're really relying on Spider-Man to get them through. But PlayStation is where they make their money. Now, Microsoft has so many avenues of money. They make trillions of dollars. They have LinkedIn. They have Bing, I guess. They have Office. They have Windows. When you turn on the computer, they pretty much make money. So they have a huge backing to experiment with projects like Game Pass. And I hope Game Pass stays forever, because I love Game Pass. I've saved so much money on a lot of these Game Pass games. So I am trying to see it from another perspective, but to me, this is just it's a bad business model. I don't see any other way around it. I really want to be convinced that this is like, oh, it's normal. Like, Nintendo, they're relying on Madden. Like, didn't you know? Like, they're relying on Madden for their business thing to grow. Xbox is relying on NBA 2K to be successful. Like, it's a normal thing in this industry to rely on something you don't own. Like, it, to me, I don't know. I can't see it. I really want to be convinced otherwise, or at least have another point of view, because I can't see it from any other. Whenever I see articles like that talk about PlayStation or Xbox in a negative light, I always try to see it from multiple perspectives. When it comes to tech, like, I kind of understand like why Xbox is like certain games perform better on the Series X and X as opposed to PS5, and then PS5 is like burning them more in a lot more comparisons. Like, I understand why, because I'm like a tech person, or at least I have some tech understanding to why it could be. But this is like, to me, it's dumb. Like, I don't see any other way around it. Like, why would you rely so heavily on something you don't own? But it also shows me Sony's mindset. Sony really relies on a lot of these third-party games. They make these deals where a lot of these games are skipping Xbox. Mostly Square Enix comes to mind, right, when we think about like the games that are skipping. But it's a lot of other developers too, and that comes with Sony's power in this industry, like kind of bullying people, bullying companies for years. Like, kicking, the way they kicked Sega out of the industry was like they freaking wrecked them, right? And right now, the way they're controlling the market is pretty much these third party deals on top of the first party. So you have your first party, you have your God of War, you have your Uncharted, you have your Last of Us. Those are your first party. But then you have all these third party ones that you don't technically own, but you are paying to the bone, where they basically people associate your third party with your first party. Final Fantasy is basically a PlayStation title at this point, even though they don't own them. Right? So could they purchase them in the future? Yes, they have a pretty good relationship. To me, I think Square Enix is kind of dumb in a lot of cases of games that would benefit from being multi-plat, and they're struggling with, like, they're not growing, and they're like, why aren't we growing? I don't understand. And they put it on like one platform. I don't understand why we're not growing, and we keep only marketing to one platform. At least the Switch or something, right? Which they're doing in some cases, but like, I mean, that's a whole separate topic. But Sony, the way they're basically making so their third party and first party are almost aligned in a lot of cases is a big PowerPoint for them. And the media on top of it, like, they never really question it. It's kind of crazy. They almost expect it. Like, oh, it's PlayStation. But when it's Xbox doing it, it's kind of like, well, when's it coming to PlayStation? You know, it's like this mindset like switches when Xbox owns something. I mean, we've seen it with Tomb Raider. Xbox bought Tomb Raider for $100 million. And so many articles was saying like why exclusives are bad for the industry, after even Phil said it like a year or so later. Why exclusives are bad. When's Tomb Raider coming to PlayStation? This is why we hate Xbox, yada yada yada. And then Sony's doing it like every other week, right? You don't see the articles on PlayStation like, when is Final Fantasy 7 coming to Xbox? And that's just because Sony has such a grab on the market, that it's, you know, people don't really question it. Like, that's the default. Sony is the default. Xbox is the underdog in so many cases. They've both been in the industry for like 10 plus years, but it's how it's going to be. Xbox has a lot to prove to people, and I think that's the stage they're going to be in for a while. Xbox is going to have to be in this. They're in the stage where they feel like they have to prove things to people, which sucks. So, I mean, last year didn't help, right? Last year, 2022, Xbox did not release barely any first-party games. So they're, even though they did pretty well the year prior, right, with Forza Horizon, Halo Infinite, they a lot of people don't trust Xbox. A lot of the media doesn't trust Xbox. So when they start releasing Starfield, and I'm hoping that mindset changes, but the media, I mean, throughout this court case, I think it's pretty clear how biased the media can be towards Sony. Like, the media loves Sony. And I also haven't seen any huge publication talk about how they're relying on Call of Duty to fund their first party. And it's weird because Sony has so many amazing IPs. I've talked about this on the last episode. Sony has some amazing IPs. But they're choosing to like stick to, like, it feels like it's shortening by the day of the IPs that they're willing to actually make a game out of again. I could say the same with Xbox. Xbox has a lot of IPs too, and then like with Rare, for example. But they're not gonna force Rare to make a Banjo Kazooie. Rare's gonna make whatever the heck they want to make. Posing Maniac says, I would like to see Sony bring back their own first-party shooter IPs. Yeah. Killzone had a lot of potential, and they just stopped supporting it. Like, it's so weird. They got really comfortable in one genre, the third-party action adventure games, and those games don't get me wrong, they're some of the best in gaming. Like Uncharted, Last of Us, God of War are some of the best third person action adventure games out there. But they sort of took for granted a lot of other genres, or a lot of other IPs too that people used to love. So it's weird. They got really comfortable in that movie style games, and something I really like about Xbox is the amount of genres that they're pushing out, from like smaller game, like something like Hi-Fi Rush, to a Forza, which is a racing game, to a Halo first person, to a Gears third person, to something like Hellblade, to something that's RPG related, to something smaller like Pentiment. Then you have something like Outer Worlds, to State of Decay, which is like zombie. Like, just me mentioning those games, they're like a list of a whole bunch of different genres and mediums, which is why I gravitate more towards that, because I love RPGs, I love first person shooters. And Sony, they bought Bungie, so they do have a first person shooter now, but I would love to see a lot more. Spider-Man says their fans don't buy the games, Sony fans. Their fans don't buy the games, Sony fans. I was gonna say, like, they buy some games, but there has to be a reason why Sony keeps wanting to bundle. I guess Sony really wants to bundle like God of War, for example, and then pump up those numbers. Like, look, it sold 10 million, but it's kind of forced within the console. They did that with Horizon. Horizon wasn't selling very well. Last of Us, I think, did pretty well. I think it sold like 15 million. Let me look at these numbers before I how much did Last of Us 2 sell? Last of Us 2 sold 10 million by 2022. So here's the thing. Here it goes. So it sold, Part 2 is one of the best-selling PS4 games and the fastest-selling PS4 exclusive, with over 4 million units sold in its release weekend, and over 10 million by 2022. Yada yada yada. Right. So here's the thing. I don't disagree with you. Considering this. Okay, give me a second. All right. That's what it said, right? So it was around 10 million or so. I think maybe it could be more than that now. No, actually, this article says 10 million. All right, so 10 million. Last of Us Part 2 sold 10 million copies. All right. All right. So, keeping that in mind, right? Xbox has a bigger subscription base, but less overall players, right? Technically, because Sony is the most popular platform. A lot more people are on Sony's platform. But because of Xbox's strategy, you get something like this. So yes, Last of Us 2. So 10 million copies. Forza Horizon has reached over 20 million. A racing game. To me, it's like crazy that a racing game has reached 20 million. Now, this is a different form of, like, these aren't sales. This did top the Steam chart a couple times. This was on the store for Xbox, where it's the most purchased game multiple times on the Xbox store. So how much does Game Pass translate to sales? I don't know. I don't know, but it's very impressive. It's very impressive compared to Last of Us. Considering it has a lower install base. Spider-Man says it's 30 million now. Goodness gracious. So like Microsoft's strategy is interesting, isn't it? Like, yes, they have less less players in their base, but since their goal is subscription models, like Game Pass, getting people into their subscription, in the end, like who actually wins here? Is it someone who plays Last of Us? You get 10 million copies as of this date, June 11, 2022. You get 10 million. They finish the game. Cool. Done. Or you can replay it. You have Forza, 20 million players. Now 30, like you guys are saying. A racing game. Like Xbox has a very interesting strategy, where they can outbeat a lot of these PlayStation games in terms of players. I think Sea of Thieves was also insane as well. Like, and that was on the top of Steam's chart too. So you have so many of Xbox's first party games doing very well. And then you have Sony, where they're relying on third parties to fund their first parties. So really, who's the winner here when you really think about it? Fuzzy said it at launch it sold 4 million, $50 add-ons or $90 ultimate version. At launch it sold for at launch Forza sold for, is that what you're saying? At launch Forza sold 4 million. That's crazy. And then when you think about it, like when you have a game that has like microtransactions, this focus is online. 4 million can translate to a lot of sales, right? 4 million, and then so let's say like out of that 4 million, maybe 1 million bought some skins or something inside of the game. Then they make an additional income. And a lot of Microsoft games are focused on online and things in the game they can get. So it's interesting. It really makes you wonder who has the better strategy there, where Sony's kind of like hinging on other games. Again, they are a smaller company, so maybe this is what they need to do. But is it really? Because Nintendo, let's see. I'm really trying to give Sony the benefit of the doubt if you guys are not even wondering. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, past 20 million players. It is interesting. Yeah. All right. So I'm about to get off. Thank you guys so much for dropping by. I will be on FSP at 10 o'clock. We'll be doing this show every Wednesday. I might be dropping some videos. A video I am working on, actually. So I did a video with a 3D. Actually, I'll pull it up. I did a 3D Phil Spencer and a Satya, right? I'm actually gonna show it so you guys know what I'm talking about. Where is it? Is it this one? Okay. So this is a video I did where it's like I'll show it to you.
You see them, Phil? Can you smell their fear?
Yes, Master.
Watch them beg as we cling to what's rightfully ours. Bethesda. I mean, ZeniMax. Yes. We warned them, didn't we? We did. Release the article. Okay. But Phil, use the word some exclusives. They can't handle it yet.
Alright. So I did that video a while ago. I thought it'd be really funny to do a 3D like Satya and Phil. So I'm working on like a part 2 of that. So if you guys have ideas, feel free to message me about it. I'm it's gonna be a little bit more ambitious. It's gonna be probably dealing with a hearing and stuff like that. So that's me jumping back into content because I used to love doing videos like that. I kind of got discouraged because I would make those videos and be like, is anyone watching? I don't know. But it shouldn't be about that. It should be if you enjoy making it, and I do. So I'm be making a part 2 of that, showing. I want to do a 3D Jim Ryan, a 3D Phil Spencer, Satya, and they're kind of just in a courtroom, and I think it'll be really funny once I finish it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That's something I did in the past. It looks like animation of the Matrix. Yeah, I couldn't make Satya. I don't know. Satya has this interesting like look to him. So I couldn't make when I first made him, he didn't look like Satya. So I was like, I'm just gonna give him some glasses so he looks like an evil boss or something like that. Alvin says, use AI generated voices for maximum effect. Yeah, maybe I will. I just voice acted. I'm like, release the article, and that was my voice. But look out for that. I will be making it probably this week. If you guys want to see behind the scenes on me making it, let me know. Put a tweet out on in the comments, so for people watching it later, if you guys are interested in that. But I will be on FSP tonight. If you want to hear my extended thoughts on Baldur's Gate. Mav had a lot of really great questions in this chat, so thank you, Mav. Thank you, Alvin, Talos, Tom, Fuzzy. We can get more technical around that show, or we could just like sort of talk about it a little bit. So love y'all. Every Wednesday, look out for this show. It will most likely be after work, so around 6 o'clock. Appreciate